You ever notice how relationships always come with a built-in script? It's like the moment you say yes, let's be together. You just signed a contract for a show. Nobody told you it was even in production. You're not a person anymore. You're a character in somebody else's sitcom. And the worst part is, there was never an audition. Nobody got to read lines ahead of time. You just showed up, thought you were getting into a sweet little love story, and suddenly you're reciting dialogue that's been recycled since Adam and Eve argued about whose turn it was to name the animals. That's the thing, relationships are just reruns of the same 3 or 4 episodes. Every couple, no matter how unique they think they are, ends up acting out the same scenes. You got the argument about chores. That's season 1, episode 1 of every relationship. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you're from, somebody's going to yell, "Why don't you ever do the dishes?" And the other one's gonna mutter, "Well, you don't take out the trash." That's your pilot episode right there. And it keeps coming back like a bad sitcom that won't get canceled. Every season, the writers bring it back because apparently the audience loves it. The only audience is the two of you, and guess what? Well, guess what? You don't love it. And it's never just about the dishes, is it? It's never about the toothpaste cap or the socks on the floor. Those are just the props. That's the set dressing. The real script underneath is always the same. I feel like I'm doing more work than you, and I want you to feel guilty about it. That's it. That's every single argument boiled down to its core. You could replace a dishes with a laundry, replace a laundry with a picking a restaurant, replace a restaurant with a walking the dog. Doesn't matter. It's the same dialogue, same delivery, same dramatic arc, and you both know it. You can see it coming like a rerun you've watched too many times. You ever have that moment in a fight where you realize you've said these exact words before? Same tone, same hand gestures, maybe even the same shirt. It's déjà vu with an audience of 2. And yet you keep going, like actors trapped on stage who can't break character. You're thinking of Jesus, didn't we do this episode last month? But no, here you are, season 3, episode 14, the return of the dirty towels. And relationships always promise new material in the beginning. That's the pilot episode. The pilot's always funny, it's always fresh, there's energy, there's charm. You're laughing at each other's quirks, you're fascinated by the little details. Oh, you leave the lights on when you leave a room? That's so cute. That's cute for the first 2 weeks. After 2 years, that's season 4, episode 9. Why the hell can't you learn to flip a switch? Same character, different audience reaction. Say the everyday drama is just a script nobody asked for, but somehow we all memorize it. We learn our lines. One of you's the nagger, the other one's the excuse machine. One says, "You never listen to me," and the other says, "I was listening, I just didn't hear what you said." That's the laugh line, right? Cue the audience chuckling in the background. And then comes a dramatic pause, followed by the sigh. A sigh is big in relationships. The sigh is basically the theme song. Every couple's theme song is just one long, drawn-out sigh. And don't you love how every sitcom has catchphrases? Relationships have catchphrases too. They're just not funny. They're tragic. One partner says, "Are you seriously wearing that?" That's a catchphrase. Or the classic, "We need to talk." That one clears the room faster than a fire alarm. And the other catchphrase always lurking in the background, "It's fine." You know damn well it's not fine. Fine in a relationship is like the cliffhanger at the end of a season. You don't know what's coming next, but you know you're screwed. And no matter what you do, the plot lines repeat. Forgetting anniversaries, leaving the bathroom a mess, falling asleep during a movie you both agreed to watch, that's all standard material. It's in the script binder, right next to the mystery of who ate the last cookie. You think you're improvising, but you're not. You're just hitting your cues. It's like cosmic stage directions. Exit stage left, slam the door, roll your eyes. You know what kills me? Nobody admits they're in a sitcom until they've been in it too long. At first you think your relationship is different, but we're not like other couples, you say. But we communicate, we laugh together, we don't fight about little things. Yeah, give it 6 months. Give it a year. By then you're delivering monologues about how the coffee mugs are stacked wrong. You'll be standing in the kitchen like some washed-up actor shouting, "I told you, handles to the left, go." Handles to the left. That's not romance. That's syndicated programming. And you can't get out of it because love itself is just the producer keeping the show alive. That's what love is. It's the network executive saying, hey, the ratings are still good enough. Let's renew it for another season. Even when the material's tired, even when the actors are phoning it in, even when the jokes don't land anymore, boom, boom, another season. And the audience, meaning your friends and family, they're still watching. They tune in every holiday, every dinner party, waiting to see how the show's going. They ask questions like critics. So, how's everything between you two? That's the equivalent of checking the reviews in the paper. And here's the thing, sitcoms always need conflict, right? That's the fuel. No conflict, no comedy, relationships are the same. If you ever had a relationship with no arguments, no drama, no little dumb fights, guess what? That's not love. That's a documentary. And nobody watches documentaries unless they're depressed or trying to fall asleep. You need conflict. That's why the universe sneaks it in. That's why the toothpaste cap, the laundry, the thermostat, the crumbs in the bed, they exist to give you something to argue about. Otherwise, what would you talk about? The weather? You ever notice every relationship also has the guest star episode? You bring in the in-laws or the best friend or the weird cousin. Suddenly the whole season takes a turn. The energy changes. The plot thickens. The fight about dishes gets postponed because now you're united against the guest star. Did you hear what your mother said about the curtains? Or did you see how your buddy ate spaghetti like that? That's the crossover episode. That's when the ratings spike. And once they leave, boom, back to the regular programming. And the funniest part, well, funniest to me, maybe not to you, is that nobody thinks they're acting. Everyone thinks they're living authentically. This is just how I feel. No, it's not. It's how the script feels. You've just been conditioned to play your part. One of you's the martyr, the other's the slacker, one's the talker, one's the avoider. And if you try to switch roles, forget it. The other actor pulls you right back. You can't suddenly decide, at this time, I'll be the one who's calm and collected. No! The other person will ramp up just to keep the balance. You can't escape your character once it's cast. And relationships don't just feel like sitcoms. They age like them too. In the early seasons, there's energy. There's chemistry, there's excitement. The audience, meaning your friends, are all saying, wow, what a great couple. They're so fun to watch. By season 5, people stop tuning in. By season 7, you're just background noise while somebody folds laundry. And if you're lucky, you get that rare reboot later in life. Maybe a vacation, maybe a spontaneous trip, maybe you both remember why you liked each other in the first place. That's the equivalent of bringing in a new character to spice things up. Oh, look, they got a dog. Maybe this will save the show, but you can't fool me. I see it. Relationships are sitcoms, plain and simple. And you can either laugh at it or drive yourself crazy trying to rewrite the script. Me, I say lean into it. Embrace the reruns, learn to love the catchphrases, and every now and then try to improvise. Because otherwise, you'll just be stuck performing the same tired lines over and over and over, wondering why the hell you never got a better role. And the truth is, even when the jokes are bad, even when the timing's off, even when the laugh track in your head sounds more like a groan, you keep showing up for the next episode. Because deep down, everybody likes a sitcom they can call their own. You ever notice how in every relationship, people don't just become themselves, they become characters? It's like the moment you pair off, you stop being an individual human being and start playing a role in some strange production you didn't even know you auditioned for. And the worst part is, you don't get to choose the role. The role chooses you. You walk into love thinking you're going to be the romantic lead, maybe the charming one, maybe the funny one. And before you know it, you're cast as the forgetful one, who never remembers the anniversary, or the nagger who keeps a spreadsheet of every household crime committed since 1992. Relationships are like sitcoms because the casting is automatic. Every couple needs a balance. And if you don't volunteer for a role, the other person assigns it to you. Somebody's got to be the responsible one. Somebody's got to be the dreamer. Somebody's the planner. Somebody's the one who says, let's wing it. You might start out thinking you're the free spirit, but give it a few months and you'll be the one yelling about grocery lists and toilet paper. Because that's what happens. The roles sneak up on you. And once you're typecast, good luck breaking out. Try being the responsible one your whole relationship, then suddenly decide you're going to be spontaneous. Doesn't work. You buy concert tickets last minute and your partner looks at you like you're insane. What do you mean we're going out on a Tuesday? You're the responsible one. You're supposed to worry about the alarm clock, the budget, the leftovers in the fridge. You can't escape your role. It's glued to you like bad theater makeup. It's like watching a sitcom you've seen too many times. You know exactly how each character is going to react because they're locked into their parts. The goofy one says something dumb. The serious one rolls their eyes. The neurotic one freaks out. The calm one mediates, and you sit there thinking, man, these people need new writers. But that's how relationships work. The writer's room is your daily life, and nobody's creative enough to change the story. Think about it. In every couple, there's always the keeper of the calendar. This is the person who knows every birthday, every appointment, every anniversary, every dentist visit. Without them, you'd forget your own birthday. And the other person, they're the one who forgets. That's their role. They forget birthdays, they forget dinner reservations, they forget why they even walked into the kitchen. And the calendar keeper gets furious, but deep down they need that role. If the forgetful one suddenly remembered everything, the keeper wouldn't know who they were anymore. Their whole identity depends on being the one who remembers everything. Same thing with money. There's the saver and the spender. That's universal. One person is out there clipping coupons, saving receipts, and hiding money in coffee cans. The other one is buying inflatable hot tubs at 3 in the morning because it'll look fun. They drive each other crazy, but without each other, they wouldn't function. 2 savers together, they'd never leave the house. 2 spenders together, they'd be bankrupt before the weekend. So the universe locks you into your roles to balance things out. And in every relationship, you've got the optimist and the pessimist. One person wakes up in the morning, birds are chirping, sun is shining, it's going to be a great day. And the other person grumbles, we'll see how long that lasts. That's your comedy duo right there. The optimist drags you into trouble, the pessimist complains the whole way. And together you've got a sitcom episode. You don't get to pick your character. Your partner picks it for you by default. They need someone to fill in the gaps. If they're messy, you become the neat freak. If they're neat, you suddenly discover you're the slob. You didn't know you were a slob until you moved in with a neat freak. Before that, you were just a normal. Now you're the slob who leaves socks in the living room and crumbs in the bed. You got typecast overnight. And the funny part is, the audience, your friends and family, they know your roles better than you do. You bring your partner to a party, and right away your friends go, oh, you must be the organized one. Or, you're clearly the talker. They spot it instantly, like critics watching the pilot of a new show. They can tell who's going to be the comic relief and who's going to be the straight man before you even finish your drinks. Every relationship needs a straight man. Not in the romantic sense, the comedy sense. Somebody's got to be the serious one so the other person can be the fool. Without the serious one, the fool isn't funny. And without the fool, the serious one isn't interesting. That's the formula. Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Lucy and Ricky. There's always a balance. You don't think your relationship is like that? Try telling a joke at dinner and watch who rolls their eyes. There's your straight man. That's their role. And they're damn good at it. And here's the thing. Once you're cast, the show locks you in. You can't just change roles halfway through the season. Imagine if suddenly the neat freak decided to be the slob and the slob decided to be neat. That's chaos. The whole sitcom falls apart. The audience wouldn't know who to laugh at. So you both go back to your assigned parts because that's how the story works. Even the arguments follow the casting. You've got the yeller and the silent one. One person raises their voice. The other folds their arms and stares at the wall. That's their thing. That's how they fight. And you can't swap. If the silent one suddenly yelled back, the yeller would be lost. They'd be like, wait, that's my role. You're stealing my lines. And then the fight would stop just out of sheer confusion. Relationships are just stage plays, and you're the actors. And the longer you stay together, deeper the typecasting goes. You become so good at your role, you can do it in your sleep. In fact, you probably do. People have arguments in their dreams because they've rehearsed the lines so many times in real life. And what about the blamer and any excuse maker? Classic duo. Something goes wrong, one person immediately points the finger. This is your fault. The other person instantly has a list of reasons why it wasn't. Doesn't matter what it is. Flat tire, burnt dinner, lost remote. The formula never changes. One blames, one excuses. That's the sketch, that's the scene, and it plays out forever. Then you got the tech person and I'm the non-tech person. That's a modern role, but it's been around since the VCR. One person knows how to fix the Wi-Fi, program the TV, set the alarm clock. The other person stares at the remote like it's written in Greek. And the tech person always complains about it, but deep down, they need that role. Because if the non-tech person ever learned how to fix the router, the tech person would lose their identity. Well, wait a second, if you can plug it in yourself, then what the hell am I here for? You can't escape these roles because relationships need structure. They need balance. They need the comedy of opposites. Two people who are exactly the same don't last. That's not a sitcom, that's a documentary. And nobody tunes in for that. You need the friction, the contrast, the yin and yang, the odd couple dynamic. That's what keeps the show interesting. And the saddest part? The roles follow you even if the relationship ends. You carry them into the next one. You were the forgetful one in your last relationship. Guess what? You're probably going to be the forgetful one in the next one too. You were the control freak before? Congratulations, you just signed a lifetime contract. The universe doesn't let you switch characters. You get cast early, and you play the same part until the curtain drops. And maybe that's not so bad, because in the end, every show needs characters. Every sitcom needs its cast. And if you can learn to laugh at your role instead of fighting it, maybe the show lasts a little longer. Maybe the reruns don't feel so painful. Maybe the whole thing works not because you're perfect, but because you're perfectly ridiculous in the part you were given. Because the truth is, every couple's a sitcom and every character's locked into their role. And whether you like it or not, the show goes on. You ever notice how in sitcoms, no matter what happens, there's always a laugh track? It doesn't matter if somebody trips, spills coffee, or burns down the living room by accident. There's always a wave of laughter waiting to soften the blow. In relationships, we don't have a laugh track. At least not one you can hear. But it's there. Oh, it's invisible, it's in your head, and it shows up every time you're in the middle of a fight about nothing and you suddenly realize how ridiculous the whole thing sounds. You can practically hear the audience laughing as you argue about a thermostat. That's the thing. Half of what goes on in a relationship is already a sitcom script. You just don't have the studio lights and the sound engineer. The arguments themselves are basically slapstick with dialogue. Picture it. One person standing there waving a TV remote around like it's evidence in a murder trial, and the other one's holding a pillow like a shield, and you're both dead serious, like this is life and death. Then later you think about it, and it's funny, it's absurd, it's insane, and if there were an audience watching, they'd be rolling in the aisles. And these fights, they all follow the same format. Sitcom writers would kill for the consistency. There's the setup, the misunderstanding, the escalation, the big dramatic silence, and then the half-assed apology that doubles as a punchline. You couldn't write it better if you tried. Think about the setup. It's always something small, something tiny. It never starts with anything big. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, let's argue about our entire existence today. No. No. It's always, how did you move my keys? That's the seed. The little pebble that rolls down the hill, and you don't even realize it yet, but that pebble's about to trigger an avalanche of nonsense. And then comes the misunderstanding. One person says, I didn't move your keys, and the other person says, well, they were right here. And before you know it, you're both reenacting a scene from some bad courtroom drama where the evidence is always missing. The keys are the smoking gun, and both of you are convinced the other one's guilty. Meanwhile, the damn keys are sitting in your jacket pocket. But you don't check the pocket, because if you check the pocket, the episode's over too soon. The writers don't want that. They want tension. They want the back and forth. And here's where the laugh track sneaks in, because if you could step outside yourself for just 1 second in the middle of that argument, you'd hear it. You'd hear the laughter. You'd hear the audience clapping every time somebody says, "I know you moved them." Or "You always blame me for everything." Big applause break right there. The audience loves it when the characters recycle their catchphrases. Then you get the escalation. Now the volume's up. Now it's no longer about the keys. The keys were just the opening gag. Now it's about who respects whose time, who does more around the house, who takes forever to get ready, who never listens. Suddenly the keys are gone. They've been written off the script. The writers moved on to a bigger conflict, because you can't sell reruns of a "Where Are My Keys?" But you can sell "You Don't Appreciate Me." That's syndication material right there. And then the silence. You know the silence. Every couple knows the silence. It's the pause where one of you says something just sharp enough that the other person has no immediate comeback. And now the whole room goes quiet. You can practically hear the studio audience go, "You." That's the dramatic pause. That's the cliffhanger moment where everyone leans in to see what's going to happen next. Will he apologize? Will she storm out? Will somebody cry? Don't change the channel, folks. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsors. You know what fills that silence? In your head, it's the laugh track again, because it's ridiculous. You're standing in your kitchen, 2 grown adults, frozen in a standoff over keys, socks, dishes, or whatever tiny object set you off this time. And the silence feels like the whole world stopped. But if there were cameras rolling, people would be in stitches. They'd be laughing their asses off at the way you're both pouting like third graders who lost recess. And then comes the apology. Oh, the apology. In sitcoms, the apology scene is always sappy and heartwarming. The music swells, the characters hug, and everyone feels better. In real life, forget it. Real-life apologies are clumsy, awkward, half-baked, and delivered with all the sincerity of a weatherman. "I didn't mean to yell. I'm sorry you felt that way." "Oh, fine, whatever, it's my fault." That's the romantic closure you get. Cue the laugh track again, because the audience knows that apology is a setup for another fight next week. And that's the beauty of it. Relationships never stop giving you episodes. You think the season's over, you think you wrapped it up, but then next week you're back on the air with, "Who left the oven on?" Or "Why do you always forget the towels?" It's a never-ending sitcom marathon, and you're both stuck in syndication for life. You ever notice how some fights even have running gags? Sitcoms love running gags. It's when the same joke keeps popping up and the audience laughs harder every time because they recognize it. Couples have the same thing. Every couple has at least one argument they've been recycling for years. It's your own personal running gag. You never close the cabinets. That's your catchphrase. That's your Kramer bursting through the door. No matter what happens, that line shows up at least once a season. And the laugh track, it's not just in your head, sometimes it's your friends. You go tell them about your fight and they laugh. They always laugh. Because from the outside, your misery is comedy. You think you're venting, but you're really just recapping last night's episode. You won't believe this. We argued for 2 hours about whether or not the couch cushions should be fluffed. And your friends are in stitches. They're the audience you didn't know you had. And sometimes the laugh track is the silence itself. The awkward pauses, the long gaps between lines. You're sitting there not talking, just staring at the floor, and it's so absurd, so loaded that it becomes its own punchline. Like you're both waiting for someone to yell a cut. But nobody ever does. The silence is funny even if it doesn't feel funny at the time. Because what's funnier than 2 people refusing to speak over something they won't even remember in a week? And here's the thing. You wouldn't trade it. For all the nonsense, for all the fights, the laugh track is what keeps it bearable. Without the comedy, it would just be pain. But with the comedy, it's entertainment. You don't love the arguments, but you love the story they create. You don't want to live in constant drama, but you also don't want to live in a silent documentary. Nobody wants that. You need the laugh track. You need the arguments, the apologies, the awkward silences. Because that's what makes it feel like a show, not a prison sentence. That's why, even in the middle of your biggest fight, even when the silence is so thick you could cut it with a knife, somewhere in the back of your mind you know, this is funny. This is absurd. This is sitcom gold. And if someone added a laugh track, you'd see it for what it really is. Because in the end, that's all relationships really are. A live studio comedy without the cameras. The fights, the silences, the apologies, they're not tragedies, they're punchlines. And the laugh track is always there, reminding you that the whole damn thing was never supposed to be taken so seriously.